One, two, one, two, three.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to my channel. I hope you are all having a great, what is it, Friday? I guess it's Friday. A great Friday. We are cozy in our cozy sweater and we've got a high pony because we are back for another episode of Story Time. So this is going to be a fun little ditty. Again, I don't know if this is something that people that I know about me, but today we are going to talk about my audition, and I almost made it through to the finals of So You Think You Can Dance to make the show. So before we get started, please don't forget to subscribe because it'll really support my channel. And let's get started. Okay, so this was in college. Okay, so this was 2012. 2012, I think I was a sophomore in college, and my group of friends from home, shout out to my Audition fam, they are obsessed with So You Think You Can Dance at the time, and they know that I'm a dancer, and they were like, Em, you should totally audition for So You Think You Can Dance. And I was like, no, I don't know. I loved that show. I love watching all the dancers, but I just never thought that I could deal with the, I don't know. I just, never wanted to audition. But they were like, they're auditioning in New York. They never really come to New York. You should go. And I was like, maybe I'll go and try it. So I worked on a little tap number that I was going to perform for the auditions, and I kind of went in, I'm going to say unprepared. I was unprepared, and I went in with the attitude of not caring because I didn't want to deal with the rejection of not getting through. That being said, I was like, it's going to be impossible to get through. There's so many people that audition. So I kind of went in nonchalantly being like, whatever. So they auditioned in New York City. Now, what you don't know about So You Think You Can Dance is what they show on TV where the judges are watching your auditions, they consider that the only audition. That is not how it happens. There are 3 rounds, pre-rounds of auditions before the judges even come in. So we go in for day 1. My dad drove me in. I think it was 3 o'clock in the morning. We drove in 3 o'clock in the morning. It was at a random theater in New York City, and we were waiting outside until 9 a.m. in the freezing cold. I think it was February. It was February. We were freezing cold outside waiting. The other thing about So You Think You Can Dance that they don't tell you is that you're on camera every single second no matter what. And the more airtime you get, the likelier your chances to, your story gets picked up. So they were filming, and people were breakdancing and running in the street and screaming, and it was a whole thing from 3 o'clock in the morning until 9 a.m. Finally, they let us into this big ballroom, and my thought process was, you will audition based on when you were in line in the morning. So we were pretty close to the front of the line, so I thought that I would have been done by noon. That was also a lie. They put us in this big ballroom and they separated us based on our category of dance. So they were contemporary dancers, jazz dancers, ballroom dancers, and then there were 7 tap dancers. Only 7. And then they basically had showrunners. There was this big stage. They had showrunners. They would bring groups up of 10. They would put on a random song, and you had to improv. And they would give you a number, and they'd say, number this, improv, number that, improv, number this, improv. And you had to improv no matter what kind of dancer you were. If it was a contemporary song, you had to do your hip-hop choreography to that contemporary song. You would line up in front of the producer. He was making all the decisions, and then you would get what's called your golden ticket. So before I talk about that, let me tell you my experience. So I got there at 3 o'clock in the morning. I did not get up on stage to do my 10 seconds of improv until 6 p.m. at night. 6 p.m. at night. Again, let me reiterate, you were on camera every single second. So you couldn't even look tired or pissed that they weren't calling on you, because I think they put 1 tap dancer every hour, which was just wild. So we get up on stage, and I was like, okay, I have to do something that really makes me stand out. So I gaff taped the bottom of my tap shoes, and the first thing that I did when they called my number from the side, right, so if it's a box, a ring, I was on the side, he called my number, and I threw a back handspring in my tap shoes into the center of the floor. Because even if you're a tap dancer, you're going to have to do all the other styles anyway. Then, what I also didn't realize is they turned down the music, so they just hear your taps. So I kind of just hit my hardest most impressive tap sounds. So I was like on my toes, a lot of shuffle pullbacks, a lot of grab offs, a lot of like nerve tapping, like all my tricks that are like my go-to improv things. And then we lined up and he called like 3 people forward and we got our golden ticket. So when you get your golden ticket, you go downstairs into the basement, and that's called the interview process. So basically you go to like 6 different people and you tell them your life story. Now the thing is, if you're gonna go on So You Think You Can Dance or any reality TV show, you gotta give them something good. You've gotta give them something about your life that will be good for people to want to watch on television. I don't want to say that I was like, I don't even know how to explain this, but basically, long story short, my mother passed away when I was 10, and she's sort of the reason that I wanted to become a dancer and wanted to become a performer based on what happened. I won't really go into detail about that, but yeah. So that's the story that I used, and I told them about what happened and how she wanted me to dance and continue on, and I told them about my dad and my sister and like just the whole 9 yards, and I really sort of like sapped up the story for them. And then they were like, great, come back tomorrow at 8 a.m. outside of BAM in Brooklyn for your second day of dancing. So again, my really good friend Ariel from Edison, she came with me. It was her, my dad, my sister, and I. We drove into Brooklyn again at like 5 o'clock in the morning. We waited outside until 8 a.m. until they let us in. And now at this point, you could bring in family members because this is the part of the audition process that they air. So this is when the judges come. This is when your family is there to greet you if you get a ticket to Vegas. So they want the audience to be full at all times. So we go in and they sort of explain to us, we're going to do our solos again. So, So we go in and this time we're going to do our full solo with the music. For the judges. So the judges come in. I think that for the golden ticket, I want to say there were like 200 to 300 people out of the 4,000 that auditioned the day before. So they broke it down into like 300, and I think there were 2 days of ticket giving. So I was on the second day. I think, yeah, so instead of coming back the next day, I came back the second day. So the other thing that they don't tell you is they only give like 10 tickets or 20 tickets from each city. And the rumor going around was that they already had given out 10 tickets. So from this group of 300, they were giving out 10 tickets. And like, they were pretty strict, like we're only giving out 10 tickets. So again, we got there at 8 a.m. We waited all day. And this is the part where they want the story, right? So the judges talk to you, they go in, they ask questions, they make you do it again, they give corrections, you know, it's the reality TV part of it. We're waiting all day. I was like getting angry. I didn't really want to be there. I was embarrassed to have my family there. My dad's trying to coach me. It's this whole thing. And so finally they're like, okay, this group of people, you're next in line. So I get ready to go in. I go up to the stage by myself. It's so funny. It's like all a blur. I didn't dance at first. They interviewed me. They were like, what's your name? Where are you from? This, that, and this. And then they asked me, Nigel asked me, he was like, does anybody in your family dance? And I was like, yeah, my dad. Because my dad like goofily dances. He's not a dancer. And he was like, is your dad here? And I was like, yeah, he's right there. And they were like, come on down, sir. So like, they brought my dad down. So they bring my dad down. And they're like, bring him on stage, and they're like, what do you do? Like, what kind of dance do you do? And he was like, oh, no, like, I'm not a professional dancer, like, I'm her coach. And Nigel looked at me, and he was like, you said your dad was a dancer. And I was like, well, no, like, he's like my coach. And he was like, okay, well, he's your coach. All right, coach, come on up to the judge's seat. So my dad goes into Nigel's seat. And he's like, all right, Emily, this is how it's going to work. You're going to have to now impress 4 judges. So it was Nigel, Tice, who's the crazy one that screams all the time? I forget her name. And my dad. And he was like, so you got 4 people to give you a check to go to Vegas. And I was like, okay. And my dad looked at me, you know, they want the shtick. They want the shtick. And they're like, and my dad was like, are you ready? And I was like, yeah, I'm ready. Give me your best. So I do my dance number. Now let me say again, like I said before, I was not prepared. I did not present at that point in my life, like where my tap skills were like fierce. I did not present a good enough performance in my opinion. And the one thing I regret is that I wish I took it a little more seriously, because I probably could have given them like a really fierce dance if I took the time to like find someone to help me choreograph it. So I finished my number. I did it to the best that I could do that day after having sat around all day. And Nigel like is like feeding my dad all this information, like what he wants to critique me on. So then my dad, Nigel was like, all right, Dad, you go first. Give her critiques. And my dad was like, you ready, Emily? And I was like, yep, give it to me. And he basically went in and he was like, you looked at the ground. You didn't engage. You missed that sound. You did this. You did that. And he like really sort of like criticized a lot of my performance. And then Nigel looks to him and he goes, Dad, wow, Dad, you're way too harsh. I think that she was fantastic. What do you think, Tice? And Tice was like, I think she was fantastic. And Mary, she was like, is it Mary? I don't know her name. She was like, I think she's fantastic. And he was like, all right, well, the thing is she's a tap dancer and we need to see her do another version or another form of dancing. So we're going to send you to the choreography round. So that means that you go and you have to like learn a dance. And then from there, they decide whether or not you go to Vegas. So that happened. And then we were immediately grabbed by showrunners to go upstairs and do an interview. So we did an interview with me and my dad, and then they take you outside and they shoot all this footage. So it's like all this footage of me and my dad walking around, being father-daughter. Like it was this whole thing. And if you talk to my dad, which he'll probably watch this video, I remember like he was so upset that they brought him down and he was so embarrassed that he was going to be on television because he thought he was like ruining my moment. But the thing is like that's what makes good TV, and he is a shtickster. Like he knows how to like give them what they want. And we sort of like knew that having watched all the other auditions. So we shot a lot of footage. So that was like 6 o'clock. Then so at that point too, once before we got to choreography round, they had already given out what we thought was the amount of tickets. So we were like, why are we even going through this choreography round if all the tickets are given out? They just don't tell you a lot. So we go up on stage. We're in our jazz outfit. So I was in like a cute little sports bra and shorts. I've got some pictures that I'll show you. And they're like, okay, we're going to do a jazz duet. And they taught it. It was this like super sassy, full out duet with lifts and all this kind of stuff. And we had to change partners every time we rehearsed. So like there were short men, they were tall men, there were all these different people who like either were really good partners or really terrible partners. And I remember the producer came down because this one kid couldn't lift any of the girls. And he was like, if you can't lift, you can't be on the show. And he was like, no, I can do it. And he was like, do a lift right now. And he did it with the girl. He almost dropped her. And the guy was like, you're out, bye. You're not auditioning. They were like super cutthroat. So then they like sent us off stage and they're like, okay, the last partner that you were just with, that's who you're going to audition with. And I auditioned with, his name is Blake. And I think he's sort of like in our industry. He does a lot of Radio City. He's also really good friends with my friend Tommy, which is so funny that I didn't know him, but now he's like part of like the theater community. And he was fierce. Like I couldn't have asked for a better partner. We like had the lift. It was this like big, like upside down straddle lift, like so strong. We were like a perfect team. And so we went in couples of 3, right? So it was like a triangle. It was one couple, one couple, one couple. You had to do the combo. It was like a 2-minute combo. You had to do the combo once, switch, and do it again. And the one thing I want to like explain, when you're on camera, and at this point I wanted it. Like I wanted that ticket to Vegas and I was dancing. Like I couldn't feel any muscles. I was so out of breath. Like, you know, when you breathe and you're breathing in like blood, like I was so out of breath, dancing so hard, like giving it all, like almost too much. I think I almost was giving like too much of a performance, but I was like, I want this. And like, we were like connected and dancing and whatever. So we do it twice. We stand in the line. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, there's 6 of us. We're breathing, and like I'm like about to cry. We're like holding hands. He brings one couple up and they're like, we're sorry, we're not giving you a ticket. He brings another couple up. We're sorry, we're not giving you a ticket. We come to the front, we're holding hands, and they were like, I think there's a video. I'm going to show you the compilation video of whatever. He holds up the ticket and he's like, you're going to Vegas. And I like dropped to the floor. I jumped in Blake's arms. We're crying or screaming. Then you get to run up to the table. I like gave Nigel a hug. I gave all of them a hug. And then again, you get grabbed by showrunners, split up, and then you go into a holding room and they like are like talking to you and they're like, okay, your family's outside. Cat Dealey's outside. We're going to count you down. You're going to run out. You're going to scream and say you got to Vegas. Now, let me tell you my parents' perspective. So, my parents' perspective, when you do that round of auditions, they can't watch because they want your reaction of if you got a ticket or not. So, my dad, my sister, and my friend Ariel are out in the hallway waiting. And person after person is coming out and getting tickets, right? So they're like, there's no way she's getting a ticket. They already are over the limit of tickets. So then they're like, Philip's family. They pull them over and they're like, okay, Emily's gonna come out. We don't know what her result was. You know, you got to be supportive if she didn't get it, and we got to be really excited if she got to Vegas. And then Kat Deely comes around the corner, and my sister is hysterically crying, right? Because we're really big fans of the show. Hysterically crying. My dad doesn't know who she is. Ariel's freaking out. Like, that was their perspective. I come bursting through the door. I'm screaming. I'm crying. My dad is screaming. I don't even know if I said I got a ticket to Vegas. I had the ticket. We're jumping up and down. It's this whole thing. Kat's like, how does it feel to get a ticket to Vegas? Da, 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 da. Like, asking me all these questions about me and my dad. It was just like the craziest day of my entire life. And then you have to literally sign your life away. So I had to sign all these forms and all this stuff, getting ready to rear up to go to Vegas. And then they shot all of the 20 or like 25 of us that got tickets that day outside, jumping, doing all this stuff. Like, it was just wild. It was so crazy. And I remember, so that was in February, Vegas was in April, and I was getting all these emails being like, do you have pictures of you as a child and you and your dad? And like, I was really thinking that even if I didn't make it onto the show, that they were going to use my story. So I was like kind of excited to like see how that was going to go. So let's fast forward to April. So we're rearing up to go to Vegas. I had to get permission from college to go because it was a whole week, right? Vegas is a whole week long. This was my first time flying by myself. This was the first time I was going to Vegas, and I was not 21 yet. We stayed at Planet Hollywood. Like, it was just a whole crazy thing. Again, the thing I want to reiterate, I don't think I was prepared enough. I should have hired someone to like choreograph something for me. I kind of just did it all on my own. Yeah, so they flew us out to Vegas. We get to Vegas. Again, let me reiterate, you are on camera every second from the moment you get off the plane. Oh, this is really funny. I shouldn't really say this. But basically, they bring you in a cargo van or like a big van, and then you get out and you get into a stretch limousine or like a Escalade, and then you drive up, and that's how they film you coming from the airport. It's funny, reality TV. So we get to Vegas. We're on camera. They come into your bedroom. You unpack. You get a roommate. It's like all this crazy stuff. We have a meeting that night. They're like, get some sleep. We want volunteers to like show us your morning routine. We get breakfast. And then we're in the big theater in Las Vegas, and we are going to start the day again with solos. So 300 people, 400 people in Las Vegas. We're going for solos again. I wore sort of the same color scheme. I did red and red and red so that I would stand out. They don't tell you when you're going. That, I think, is the hardest part, because you're sitting and you have to be sitting in the audience because they need people on camera. There's really not, I mean, they give you some time to warm up, but like, if you guys know dance competitions, when you're sitting around all day long, your energy goes down, you're tired, you're like constantly nervous, that your whole like nervous system is just a mess. So yeah. Oh, also, I think there was a point where a guy was doing a back tuck and he had to go to the hospital. There was a whole situation going. That was also the season, I think it was season 9 that I auditioned for, where, do you guys remember that he was like a hip-hop dancer that did all that crazy like popping, and he kind of looked like a spirit? I don't know if I can find a video of that, but yeah, that was the season. So they kind of got wrapped up in that story. Also, let me say, there were 3 tap dancers, 2 men and me. Only 3 tap dancers. So I was like, I may have like a pretty good chance if they want some variety of dance styles. Who knows? So I finally get up. We go. Huge stage, huge lights. You can't really, I mean, all the judges are there, but you can't really see them. And I think I gave the best performance that I could have given the circumstances. And I remember him saying, he gave me some feedback, and he was like, great sounds, great energy. He was like, but you didn't look at me. You didn't connect. We didn't make eye contact. And I wanted to be like, I hear you, but also you've never said that to any other performer. So I'm wondering why you wanted the tap dancer to like make eye contact with you. Whatever, valid criticism. So they do the 10 solos, right? So like they do a group of 10, and they bring you all on stage, and they pull the people that are going to stay forward. And at that point, I ended up getting cut. Again, a showrunner grabs you, they film you walking up the aisle from getting cut, and they immediately interview you. And the first question that they asked me, this is nuts. The first question that they asked me, do you think your mom would have been disappointed that you got cut today? And I was like, seriously? That's the question you're gonna ask me? I was like, she's not gonna be disappointed in me, but of course I didn't want to get cut today. And so, you know, they want you to cry and all that kind of stuff. And I like gave in because I was so tired. So I was like crying hysterically. And I was like, I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna audition and blah, 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 blah. And then again, it's just so nuts. They've got it down to a T. So I did my post like cut interview. My post-cut interview, and then I was brought to a table and they were like, okay, go pack your stuff. Your flight leaves at 8 p.m. We're getting you on the van as soon as you come back downstairs. Like, I was gone that evening, which is nuts. Yeah, so they like put me on a flight. I like called my dad. I called my friends and I was like, I got cut, and I was so embarrassed and so sad. And like, it's like at that point where you like don't want to be on the TV at all. Like, you don't want to like show being cut because it's embarrassing. But yeah, so I got cut and I came home and like that was that. And then when the show aired, I ended up making that like intro with like my face jumping up and down. But my dad and our story didn't air because at that time, normally they had 2 full days. They had Tuesday, Thursday airtime, and this time they only had 1 day and they had to combine 2 cities into one. So they only highlighted the stories of the people from New York who made the show. But it was a wild experience, and like I'm glad that I did it. Again, like I said, my one regret is I wish that I was more prepared, but I went in with this attitude of not caring because I didn't want to be disappointed, which like in hindsight makes it worse. But anyway, that's sort of my experience on So You Think You Can Dance. It was wild, it was crazy. I think it's so cool and so fun, like having the memory of it. If you guys have any questions about my experience, about So You Think You Can Dance, if you want to just like tell me your experience, if you were on So You Think You Can Dance, leave a comment below. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Again, please don't forget to subscribe because it'll really support my channel, and I will see you guys in the next one. Don't slow it down, just keep it.
Oh, you're dancing. We didn't get you dancing.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, we did.
We got the dancing shots?
Yeah.
That's coming out.
Right, here it is.
There.